if I told you that your favorite shop suddenly disappeared from your Uber app when you were ready to head out there, and when you tried to drive there by yourself, you couldn't find it on your map? To make matters worse, when you decided to buy their products online, you found they were removed from the digital shelves of all top e-commerce platforms. It sounds crazy, right? Well, that's what happened to the Swedish fashion retailer H&M in China. It was erased from the face of China almost overnight, at least virtually anyway. The retailer and a few other major international brands, including Hugo Boss, Nike, and Adidas, have all been in the crosshairs of the Chinese government and Chinese consumers for deciding not to source cotton from Xinjiang due to concerns for human rights violations in the region. The Chinese government has since put on a spectacular campaign of manipulating and mobilizing the entire Chinese society to put pressure on those businesses. What is happening in Xinjiang? Who is China really aiming at? Will it get its way? Well, things may be a little different this time. I'm Sharon, and this is Straight Talk. Xinjiang has been in the limelight quite a lot lately, but unfortunately not at all for the right reasons. A week or two ago, chaos erupted as Chinese boycotted some major international retailers for rejecting Xinjiang cotton over concerns of forced labor. News about angry consumers have dominated Chinese headlines and quickly spread around the world. All this chaos happened straight after China was sanctioned by some of the leading democracies for religious persecution. So is this just coincidence? I believe Beijing is playing a game that it knows like the back of its hand, provoking nationalistic sentiment, manufacturing anger and chaos to divert people's attention away from the real issues, and more importantly, to send a message to those watching. Don't mess with the CCP. I will show you what I mean, and you let me know if you agree. On March 22nd, the European Union announced the sanctions against 4 Chinese officials and 1 entity for their roles in persecuting Uyghur Muslims in Xinjiang. The United States, the UK, and Canada soon followed, announcing similar sanctions. China quickly retaliated by sanctioning 10 European individuals and 4 entities. But do you know what China is really angry and terrified at? The thought of Europe now working more in sync with America. So China needed to punish Europe and fire a warning shot. It took a little over a day to come up with a perfect plan. On March 24th, the Chinese Communist Youth League posted 2 incendiary articles on its microblog. One of them picked out H&M's statement that was issued nearly 6 months ago, announcing its decision to not source cotton from Xinjiang because the company was concerned about forced labor. The Communist Youth League decried H&M for lying and rejecting Xinjiang cotton while trying to make money in China. Silly and wishful thinking, it said. It also put up a poster with a tagline, "Xinjiang cotton is not taking this." A national campaign enthused. The media was pushing the official narratives of the Xinjiang cotton industry being highly mechanized and no significant manual work involved, let alone forced labor. Is that true? I really wish it were. Most of the machines operate only in the northern part of the region. In the south, where premium cotton is grown and the cotton fields are hilly and narrow, harvesting is still heavily manual. Recently, a Chinese woman who was born in southern Xinjiang and is now living in the US shared her experience on Clubhouse. She was taken to the fields to pick cotton for no pay since her primary school years. Between September and October every year, over 100,000 people, including high school students in her part of town, were sent to pick cotton. The working conditions were harsh. People lived in makeshift tents for weeks and months. A few people refused to participate, but were severely punished. An Australian think tank had similar findings. Now, numerous media outlets run by the state and the People's Liberation Army repeated the official lines and blasted away at H&M. Images of large tractors working in the cotton fields began to fill the internet space. Angry young Chinese, known as the Little Pinks, quickly echoed the official calling by urging citizens to boycott H&M. Little pinks are typically young people who were born after the 1990s and tend to be inexperienced, easily excitable, and highly nationalistic. They often stick together and move collectively. Little pinks are what Vladimir Lenin would call useful idiots. But do you know that they have a fatal flaw that will make them a little less useful than expected? You will find out in just a few minutes. Afraid of being boycotted themselves, leading e-commerce platforms immediately removed H&M products. Celebrities also began to show loyalty by cutting ties with the brand. Within one day, H&M lost 2 of its Chinese brand ambassadors. By the evening time, H&M had taken down its original statement and issued another one, vowing to regain the trust of Chinese consumers. Now, the new statement didn't explicitly apologize for its previous action. Guess what happened? The little pinks and other Chinese netizens were infuriated. Within 30 minutes, over 50,000 comments were left on H&M's blog asking the company to leave China. On the 25th, many digital apps, including maps and taxi services, removed H&M stores. For those living digitally, it almost felt like the company had disappeared into thin air. The flame quickly spread to other international brands: Nike, Adidas, Zara, Uniqlo, Burberry, Tommy Hilfiger, and Puma. The list kept growing. These companies spoke against Xinjiang human rights abuses a while back. At this point, as more fashion retailers were dragged into this, celebrities were forced to take sides and terminate working relationships with those companies. They probably didn't have much choice, as many of their fans are little pinks. But I was a bit shocked when Hong Kong singer and actor Eason announced that he was terminating his ambassadorship with Adidas, a brand he had been supporting for decades. He reportedly would have to pay $10 million in damages for breaking his contract. He said before that he had not been making money for a while because of the pandemic. He looked rather miserable on the day of the announcement. He was spotted by Hong Kong media sitting in his car by himself, staring blankly for a whole hour. Thousands of his fans in Hong Kong were heartbroken by his decision. You wonder who's really gaining in this ridiculous exercise. In the meantime, the anti-West sentiments continued to grow and reach new heights on the mainland. People were burning Nike shoes. Some little pinks went to H&M stores to shame the people working there, asking them to quit their jobs. Some shopping malls removed the H&M billboards and several H&M shops had to be closed for the day. On March 26th, more H&M stores were closed. Angry netizens demanded that the Chinese Football Association reject Nike's sponsorship. Now, Nike sponsors about 16 teams. Terminating the sponsorship would cost the association an astronomical amount of money. But people didn't seem to care, as long as it is not their money that's being lost. On the same day, China's Defense Minister Wei Fenghe made a high-profile visit to the site of the old Chinese embassy in Yugoslavia that was bombed by the United States 22 years ago. 3 Chinese died in the bombing. This visit was covered extensively by the Chinese media and further fueled the nationalistic outrage. No one cared to question why there was no tribute paid to the fallen in previous years, especially on the 20th anniversary that passed not so long ago. Then something unexpected happened. It was on this very same day that the boycotting faced a serious test. So did the little pinks. Nike offered 70% off everything on JD.com. Guess the result? Patriotism failed miserably. Women's sneakers priced at $100 were sold out in under a minute. By 9 o'clock in the evening, over 350,000 consumers had participated in the sale. It was a joyous event. People joked about how one's love for the country was utterly defeated by a good old discount. I think this shows how things are different now. The regime no longer has loyal followers. It may be able to get people worked up for a period of time, but for that to hold, it takes more. On the 27th, more companies were added to the blacklist, IKEA being one of them. In some places, actions were getting more aggressive and things seemed to be going out of control. CCP mouthpiece Global Times urged the people to keep calm and be wary of inflammatory emotions in the crowds. Yet as more brands started to offer steep discounts and Chinese flocked in, the boycott campaign was losing steam. Here is a clip of people queuing up for Adidas' big sale. You'll wonder if Hong Kong superstar Eason is regretting ending his hard-earned contract with Adidas. Things apparently were cooling off a little too soon for the authorities. Another heavyweight publication owned by Xinhua News punched out an opinion piece reminding people that this is just the beginning of the war and the fight was far from finished. On the same day, just like that, the CCP tried to switch people on and off. In the process, countless businesses and people's livelihoods got hurt. By the 29th of March, smartphones of Huawei and Xiaomi had removed the Nike and Adidas apps from their app store. The show goes on. China wanted to send a stern message, but it looks like it only managed to send a mixed message. In doing so, the world witnessed again its tactics, which are not working as effective as before. That is because not only have the Chinese people changed, but also the countries in the West are much clearer on China's ambition and the danger it imposes on the world. No human beings should ever forget that the Chinese government committed genocide against its own people more than once. And this is it for today. I hope you have enjoyed the video. Please share it and like it, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel.